Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamer channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Ubisoft is making some really interesting steps. Some of you have been talking about some of the stuff here on the videos and in the community, and I felt we need to continue this conversation because it's very important, because as these things continue to go on, I think they're going to affect the division in one way or the other. Now there's talking to the community that the division is dead and all of that stuff, and the truth is not a lot of players are playing the division. But to say the game is dead, I don't really understand the connotation of that. Are you saying that there are not a lot of people playing the game, or are you saying the game is no longer supported? So for me, I think we have to be a lot more technical, and I think we have to be a lot more specific in the way that we address the nature or the state of the game. So when you say the game is dead, you're not necessarily saying that the game is no longer getting any support. I think what you're saying is the game right now, not a lot of people are playing it. I mean, what do you expect? People should be playing a game that they may not or may not want to play. Now, to say that, though, is also to ignore the people who are actually playing the game as well. I know for certain that my clan on PlayStation, the LCN clan that I'm a member of, is very active on the division, and so are other pockets of clans out there. So you can't rule that out, too. I mean, if you look around, you see that there are content creators like GC Rock, there are content creators like who's Sergeant Graybeard and Kamikaze Von Doom that are still dedicatedly making content on YouTube. That's not even the Twitch side. So again, this is based on preference of the player. The division has always been that game that its most loyal players will play it regardless of what anybody out there is saying, or regardless of any game coming out is doing. So I think that's something we have to pay attention to. But in the case of Ghost Recon, I think there's a lesson in greed that we have to pay attention to and learn. Now, Ubisoft gets accused for everything. Greed, generic, open world, boring. It's like they take the brunt of everything. And it comes with the territory. When you bring out 3 games or 5 games a year, you're going to get smoke for every single game you bring out. The Assassin's Creed community right now is divided. There are the ones who love the new format and the others who do not like the new format. There are people who think the microtransactions are quite greedy. I think they are. Personally, I don't even touch the microtransaction stores in any single player game. If I want to play that game, I'll buy the game, but I ignore the whole thing. And anybody who is wanting to make those purchases, that's their decision, that's their money. I feel like if a game is rated M or rated at that high of a game, people who are playing that game should be adults enough to know what they want to spend their money on. That's a whole different story or a whole different conversation nonetheless. But then if you go back and say, okay, so where does the greed come into play? What were they trying to achieve with Ghost Recon Breakpoint in its onset of its release? Why did they want to go with a loot game? What were the developers looking for that they decided that they were going to take their game, which already had a solid format, and try to change it into another format? Now, my very first few days of Ghost Recon Breakpoint, I said we could just call this game Division 2.5 because it seems to want to carry some of the Division elements to it. And I thought it was partly a matter of trying to find ways to monetize things. They have put the shop right there in everybody's face. All of these different aspects of the game just seemed like they wanted to sell things. If you even go back and watch some of the reviews that came out, people like SkillUp, ACG, some of the others, they mentioned and pointed this, and even in some cases, they alluded to the fact that this seemed a little money grabby, and that's what Ubisoft, in that sense, had tried to do. In our minds anyways. Now, they could say we didn't try to do this, but we as the gamers, we perceived it as such. And I'm making that, clearance, but I don't want to blame anybody for something that they didn't do. But in my eyes, in these 2 eyes of mine, and from the ears that I have and I heard, and from the reading that I did, we could say, this kind of seems a little money grabby. Figure out what I mean. And so now that they're taking this different approach, it seems like they are learning the lesson that, their audience is an audience that if you try to reach into their pockets without providing value, you're going to get burned. You're going to lose. And a lot of these gaming development companies, some have bought into that concept. They'll continue to provide value. They will continue to provide what works. They'll continue to relate with their community in ways that their community accepts and even in many cases appreciates what they're doing. But I think Ubisoft now understands that just because you have many IPs, many different games, you don't run the gaming world. Consumers and customers run the gaming world. You can make the most beautiful whatever game in the world, but if consumers are not on your, in your corner, another random game is going to come in and take the cake from you. I mean, it's the example of this skit that RDC World did. It's called, when game developers make, when AAA game developers something. It's a very funny skit. The skit shows this wonderful game that they made that had real life graphics compared to another game called Stickman. And that other game called Stickman was a very simple game made with probably like, in their minds, $20, and it was basically ruling everything. Look at Among Us. Look at Fortnite. Look at all these simple games. And eventually they've been able to get to a place where they're fun enough where they can now monetize. So I guess value is the first thing. This is a business strategy anywhere. Add value to people and compensation comes later. You have to go out of your way if you really want to create raving fans. I stole that word from somewhere. You really have to add value to them. And I think right now Ubisoft is understanding that. So Ghost Recon Breakpoint, this new Motherlands update, the sale that you see on PC, and even for people who've owned the games, coming back and seeing some of the aspects that they've added to, I think the leaders in that studio and the decision makers understand that they have to add value to the community. So right now they're putting that greed away somewhere else, and they're using value to lead. And you're going to be successful, Ubisoft. You think we gamers don't know anything. We know more than we let on, or we know more than, you think we know. And I'm not getting these ideas from myself. I'm getting these ideas from everybody also in the community. I'm reading your comments. You're, watching these videos. We're engaging one another. And if the developers, will continue to listen, they already have an organic roadmap to the next successful Ghost Recon full single player experience with maybe co-op and PvP. Don't go make that battle royale thing yet. Put that thing in the corner and give it a different name. We have the roadmap and we're showing you how to go. This is the best way for them to go ahead. So I thought I'd just make this video and talk about that because, right now in the Ghost Recon community, it's a little quiet. I don't know how you guys got content and you guys aren't saying anything. I'm shocked. I'm looking and I'm like, y'all Ghost Recon people, you guys don't even know how to make noise. We, the division, we make more noise than Ghost Recon people. And they get more stuff than we do. The world we live in, isn't it interesting? They express their concerns and they've come down to this point where, they've already delivered a brand new content piece that highlights some of the things that they've been asking for. Whereas we in the division community, since day one, we've been on the case of our developers. But I understand different studios under Ubisoft, nonetheless, little units, they'll run their package however they want. We just happen to have massive, love them or hate them, it's what it is. They're the ones who gave us the game that we've appreciated all these years. So I guess we just have to, at some point, say, you know what, when you guys deliver our content, you deliver it. But I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Developers, should they across the board pay attention to their own audiences and community like they've always done? I don't know where they got the idea that they would just run off and be making their own games themselves and, gamers are going to love it because we have all this marketing budget. Yo, marketing budget or no marketing budget, right now you're seeing games like Valheim just throw down a game made by like 12 people or so is what I heard. I don't know if it's 12 people, but a small team making a very fun game that doesn't even have all the graphics in the world and it's still early access and it's just blown everything out of the water. And I know people will point to New World, but that's a big company, backing that. But I'm talking about the small gems that are continuing to get the limelight while the big games are having their communities dissatisfied. This is a lesson that they must learn, and I'm glad that gamers are teaching it. Right? You know how we teach, right? Our wallets. Peace.